Hey guys, this is the third and final segment of the F56 Mini Cooper S build series, in which we've had a budget of $3,000 to turn this cutie into the perfect daily driver. In this episode, we'll go ahead and spend some money and lots of elbow grease into making some aesthetic upgrades. Let's go! And as a recap, in the first episode we spent around $600 on suspension upgrades, and in the second episode we spent an additional $1,800 on power upgrades, trying to give it as much noise and power as a JCW Mini, which leaves just about $600 left in our budget for aesthetic upgrades. Now, this episode was kind of actually the hardest part to plan out of the three, just because I really had to make $600 stretch with all the things that I wanted to do and wanted to add to the car. But, you know, a meticulous detail costs nothing but sweat and time, so let's first get started with that, and we'll figure out how to spend our budget in just a bit. Now that the interior is pristine, it's time to open our very first purchase for the episode. It's a set of custom-fit bucket-style floor mats made by WeatherTech, and these guys really should have a loyalty program or something, because I think this is like the sixth set that I've purchased. I love these floor mats, not only because they fit very well, but because they tend to hold dirt, mud, and water inside of the mat instead of spilling out the side of it. I wouldn't have spent so much time vacuuming if I had just installed this from the beginning, but better late than never. These cost me $225 on Amazon, and it's a set of 4, 2 in the front and 2 in the back. And now I don't feel like I have to nag people to shake their shoes off every time they get in the car. They also come with floor clips for the front mats to make sure that they don't slide around and cause an accident. I ordered the mats in black, of course, to match the interior, and I think they fit in really good. And coming from someone who's been using them for over a decade, I know it'll be one of the best functional upgrades for a daily driver car. And the interior detail is done. It looks fantastic. We can now move to working on the exterior of the car, and what we'll do is give this car a full exterior detail. And this is like an 8-step process spanning over 3 days, but at the end of it, I'll show you what you can do to not have to do this again for at least another 3 to 5 years. First, we're going to give this car a basic hand wash, and after that we need to remove the stubborn contaminants on the paint using a clay bar and some type of lubricant. You'd be surprised how much stuff is still stuck on the paint even after a wash. Then we can go ahead and compound and polish the car, or both, depending on the condition of the paint. Then we'll go ahead and wash the car again with Dawn dish soap this time to make sure that the car is completely degreased, and then we'll go ahead and towel dry it off to prevent any watermarks. And I'm being extremely meticulous here because we're about to lock in our work using a protective coating that will last years to come. And by the way, I'm going really fast here. Seriously, I'm forced to skip over a lot of details in these videos because apparently I have to cater to teenagers with ADD. But if you want to hear more details about anything that I'm doing in this series, check out the extended cut versions of these episodes. I'm sure some of you guys will really find it worthwhile. Okay, after all of that back and shoulder breaking work, we're going to be finally ceramic coating the car, and I'll be using this bottle with a brand name that I really won't even try to pronounce here, but I've used this specific product so many times before, and even though it's on the expensive side, I'm willing to spend the extra money here to guarantee a great result. If I'm going to be spending 3 days doing this, it really doesn't make sense for me to chance it on a sketchy, cheap product. So this one cost me $90 on Amazon, and all the product links are in the description if you want to support the channel. If you're not familiar with, ceramic coating products, it's basically like putting a very thin layer of ceramic, almost like glass, that hardens on top of your clear coat. Think of it as a semi-permanent wax. At least in my opinion, it's the best way to keep your car looking factory new and your paint protected for several years with minimal follow-up. I won't go over the step-by-step here on the proper application technique of ceramic coat, partly because this isn't really an instructional video, and two, trust me, it's really not that hard. Watch a few YouTube videos, and there's really no reason to hire a professional to do this unless you just don't have the time or the space. I gave the Mini 2 full coats with 8 hours of curing in between. The second coat really doesn't make the car look any shinier, but it will help the coating last so much longer. And most of the hard work is in the prep anyway, so it makes sense to go the extra mile at this stage. I also coated all the windows and mirrors, which has the same effect as Rain-X. It just lasts a lot longer than Rain-X. And after that, we're going to give it 24 hours in the garage for the coating to completely cure before driving it outside, and the car just looks so shiny and so amazing. I would say it looks even better now than when it was sitting at the dealership. But, it's a white car, so it's not as dramatic on video as darker paint would be, but, in person, it just looks amazing. And it feels even better knowing that I don't have to wax this car ever again for a few years at the least, since, I double coated it and it's garage kept for the most part. Okay, you might see something interesting in the video right here though, something weird going on with the kind of the window belt trim that goes around the car. Let me explain what happened. I almost didn't even include this next part in this episode because I eventually decided not to do it, but I ended up wasting some of my budget on it, so I'll share it. There's this chrome belt trim that goes all the way around the car that has always bothered me. This Mini has blacked out trim everywhere else, but this one chrome piece just looks really out of place, at least in my opinion. So what I tried to do was use this roll of vinyl tape. I spent 35 bucks on 3 20-feet rolls of it so that I have plenty of extra just to practice, and it seemed to match the glossy black color of the other trim pretty well. So I thought this was going to be really straightforward. Just, slap it on, cut it to shape, and there you go. You have black trim now. And it seemed like it would be much easier than painting and much cheaper than replacing the entire trim, obviously. Well, it wasn't easy. I tried doing this over and over again for, no kidding, like 4 hours, but after multiple attempts, it never quite ended up looking as perfect as I wanted it to. And I was getting really nervous about just having to use a blade near rubber trim and painted surfaces. Don't get me wrong, at more than 10 feet away at a glance, it looks really pretty good, but when you stand close and notice how the light hits it, well, it's not good. In some spots you can see the bit of chrome underneath, and in some spots it's already coming up loose already. So I ended up taking it all off because I knew those details were just going to continue to bug me every time I look at the car up close. So lots of time wasted, a little bit of budget wasted, but I think I'll have an easier time convincing myself that the chrome trim actually looks okay than trying to convince myself that, those imperfections look okay. Hey, this channel is called Master of None. I never said I was good at everything. So while the car looks amazing, there's one thing left to do, and it's these wheels. And I'm usually fine with boring old alloy wheels on a car as long as it's not chrome, but I think this car, with all the black trim and everything, it would just look so much better with black wheels. But the problem is, I don't want to get a whole new set of wheels, which would cost me over $1,000, and I don't have the budget left for a proper powder coating from a shop, which, you know, that would be just about $800, including the unmounting, remounting, and rebalancing of the tires. I would know. I called some companies in the area and actually checked. So I'm gonna go ahead and just paint them myself. I'm really pretty decent with rattle cans, and this would be far from the first set of wheels that I painted, but we gotta, you know, get them cleaned first and really wash them thoroughly. Painting, like I said before, it's all in the prep. Painting is just the easy part, but your paint job will only be as good as the prep work that you put in. So I enlisted some help from my fiance's friends, because why not, and we just got them pristinely clean. I'm talking multiple washes and wipes until we couldn't, you know, run a paper towel over every crevice and see, you know, any black smudges. For the paint, and I know some of you guys are just going to absolutely trash me for this, but hear me out. I'm going to use this wheel paint kit from dipyourcar.com, so it's Plasti dip. This kit cost me $140, including the brake dust remover solvent. And guys, I know y'all think this is gonna completely suck and it'll look terrible, it'll just tear off, it won't last, it'll be a pain to remove. I've heard it all. But here's the thing. People that hate on Plasti dip, at least in my opinion, have either never used it or have unrealistic expectations of it, or here's the most common one, never do the proper prep work which is necessary for any kind of paint job for it to look good and adhere and for it to cure properly. People usually just leave the damn wheels on the car, bag it off clumsily with some plastic bags, and expect professional results. That's not how you would paint any car. If you're gonna do it like it's real paint. Put some love into it, put some elbow grease into it, and I bet it'll come out much better than you expect. So I set up a little paint booth in the garage and went to work. And you'll notice that I'm using this rattle can attachment, which happens to be just one of my favorite tools. It turns any rattle can into a spray gun. Anybody who went through more than 3 rattle cans in the same session can tell you how much strain it puts on your trigger finger, and that makes you sloppy and impatient over time, which, you know, makes you a terrible painter. This rattle can attachment is like $6. I'll leave the link in the description. Go buy it if you're ever going to touch a paint can again. It's that good. I started with only one wheel, mostly just to test it out. I wanted to make sure that I liked the color of it and the way that it sprayed on, but to be fair, I won't really be able to tell the final texture until it's completely dry. It's supposed to be a matte finish, and I think it looks okay, so we'll go ahead and paint the rest of the wheels. I think the wheels turned out just fantastic. It's exactly the color and the texture that I was looking for, and you know, to be honest, I was a little nervous since they came out all blotchy after the first round of painting, but after giving them all kind of a second even coat, they came out basically perfectly. So all we need to do now is put them on the car, and let's see how the Mini looks with some new shoes. And that basically concludes this Mini Cooper build series. I'm really happy with how everything turned out. I think we did a pretty decent job of spending the $3,000 in a way that, you know, that I'll be able to just appreciate it on a daily basis. I also just really enjoyed making this series. I love chatting with you guys in the comment section and being able to share my experience with you all. But if you enjoyed this series or found anything to be helpful to you, please do me a favor and just like and subscribe or leave a comment. I won't ever ask for anything more than that, and given that I'm still a very small YouTuber, a little bit of engagement just goes a really long way to encouraging me to continue making content. Thanks again everyone, be nice, and see you guys again all very soon.